This video is the second one in a series of 5 on the advertising and promotion industry. So, changes taking place within the industry will put more demands on advertising agencies. It'll also put more demand for advertising agencies. More companies will look for advertising agencies because of the increasing complexity of the promotions industry. There's the emergence of new technologies and new outlets for promotional activity, for example the internet, and the internet is in a constant state of evolution, a constant state of change. But it's also put more demands on advertising agencies so that they are themselves pressurized to keep abreast of what's required within the market. So there's a demand on the one hand by clients for their services, and there's a demand by them to stay contemporary in terms of technological developments and the requirements of changing customer demands and requirements. Agencies will have to offer a wide range of services to meet the demands and growing needs for integrated marketing communications. There is a need to coordinate activities across different platforms. So it may be that advertisements are developed, let's say, to run on television, but the same advertisements can be used on the internet. But also the soundtrack for the advertisements may be used on the radio, and in fact stills off the video may be used in promotions on magazines, or they may create the idea for high quality promotions in magazines. So it's a question of the agencies understanding the nature of the business as it's emerging and the requirements of the customers, who are becoming increasingly more sophisticated and more capable of seeking out prices and qualities and reports on products, and who in a sense are more informed than ever before. They're better informed. They have different outlets in which they can check the claims that are being made in advertisements about products. So agencies have to evolve as well. They have to ensure that the services that they're offering are in line with what's happening within the marketplace, and their clients in turn will have to trust the agencies that they know the trends within the marketplace. So it is an increasingly complex time for marketing and advertising agencies to conduct their business. Demands from clients and the changing pace of technology means agencies have to offer innovative approaches to advertising. It's not just a question of coming up with a catchy slogan or a scenario that will capture the imagination of the consumers. Consumers themselves have changed. They are increasingly sophisticated. It's less easy to impress the consumers. They have seen a lot more. They have seen the evolution of the internet from very boring text-based delivery on the internet to very sophisticated high-definition video on demand, news on demand. There is an immediacy about the internet, and the information that's passed around the internet is phenomenal vis-a-vis what was passed around in terms of markets and knowledge of markets in the past. So clients are looking for agencies who are capable of delivering within this new framework. The agencies must be confident and must have expertise to operate within this changing framework, this innovative changing framework. Now, the structure of the advertising industry. Well, the advertising industry follows a structure which should not surprise us. All industries, to one extent or another, have some sort of structure. The structure outlines roles and responsibilities within the industry. There are certain almost cultural issues that industries follow. These may be based on historic positions and historic titles and roles, but industries tend to have a particular way of operating, and each industry tends to have its own traditions or culture or its own structure that has evolved and has been modified over the years, but it essentially suits that particular industry. And it's not surprising to find out that the advertising industry is in the same position. It has its own structure, its own way of operating, its contacts, and the formality and the informality of the contacts, the way in which it operates, and also the interface that the marketing and advertising industry has with the world of art and music and the more glamorous parts of the media industry. So it's not surprising to find out that there is a structure to this, and the structure is determined by the agencies and how the agencies link with the clients and with the production companies, and how they interface between the two, and the processes they go through in terms of their own marketing and advertising requirements. The structure of the industry is a collection of companies that offer specialist expertise. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. The advertising and marketing industries is a collection of companies who have a particular expertise in that area, and they're offering that expertise for sale to clients who are perhaps working in other areas, perhaps in delivery of services or delivery of products, and their expertise is different. There is an issue about whether this could be done in-house or should it be outsourced to the advertising industry. Well, the argument there hinges around costs and effectiveness. It's probably cheaper for companies to do it themselves, but on the other hand, the marketing and the advertising and the projection of the image of the business could be damaged if it was wrongly done, and it does require a certain expertise. It does require people with knowledge of the area to be involved and to deliver this very specialist service. The typical structure also involves the client who initiates the need for advertising. For example, marketing managers and business owners. So the marketing manager within a large company will, in conjunction with senior management within the company, will determine whether some promotion is required and the nature of that promotion, and will then seek to find appropriate advertising agencies and give them a brief as to what's required and engage their services. Then, based on their expertise, if you like, the division of labour, they will deliver the product. It'll be approved and monitored and checked throughout by the client, but they are better suited to do it because of their expertise. So if we look at advertisers, well, advertisers come all shapes and sizes, retailers, wholesalers and distributors, but also the government and social services. They need to explain to the population certain issues, and they will have a need for publicity to popularize certain programs, for example, that are being put forward by the government. There's also the advertising agencies. There can be a wide range of agencies, all of them perhaps focusing in on certain industries, and they have built up particular expertise in those industries. Some of them are quite generalist and are able to produce a wide variety of product, advertising and promotional product. Some may be highly specialized and have focused in on certain industries and have acquired a name for themselves in terms of their ability to understand that market, to read the market, and to project their clients' requirements in that market very effectively. There are also external facilitators. These are the production companies, the consultants, and the people who do the research and the information intermediaries. It's very important that the agencies themselves are able to outsource. So we can see it as the clients, the companies, let's say, outsourcing this activity to the advertising agencies, and the advertising agencies outsourcing part of it to other companies who are in a better position to do certain aspects of the task, researching the market, for example, or acting as a consultant who knows the market, who knows the industry, who knows the product. So it's almost cascading, that it's outsourcing on top of outsourcing. It's a highly sophisticated process, but the end product, as far as the customer is required, is a marketing campaign or an advertising campaign that should be effective. It should appeal to the customer and improve the image of the company and its product, and presumably generate extra sales as a consequence. There are also media organizations, and these run right across the board, from magazines, specialist magazines, general magazines, the national press, into internet, television, radio. So there are a whole variety of organizations that are involved. Now, the core activities of some of these may not be advertising. They may be entertainment companies who at the same time produce perhaps some advertising material, or work in conjunction with advertising agencies, and will perhaps expose those works to the customer through slots in their schedules. So, for example, commercial television is financed by advertisements, but the press, newspapers and magazines, are subsidized to a large extent by advertisements as well. Otherwise, the cost of printing and distribution and allowing for profit margins and so on would mean that these publications would be extremely expensive. So there's a whole range of media organizations who also get involved. And of course, it's all channeled towards the final audience, or the target audience, to try and encourage the target audience to see the product more positively, to perhaps adopt the brand, build up a loyalty to the product, and will become purchasers of that product. Now, advertisers. Well, advertisers are organizations, small businesses, and multinational corporations. They're also the government, as I said earlier, who may want to buy some promotional slots to promote a particular policy, or a particular some aspect of new law or health and safety, or some such issue. So governments may be involved, but by and large it's the producers of particular products or services who want to place those products and services before the customer and make the customer aware of their existence. And these could be large organizations. By and large, it's not very small organizations. By and large, it may filter down to medium size. But then again, it depends on the extent of the market being addressed. We tend to think of national markets, and placing advertisements in outlets for national markets is expensive. But there are also regional companies who operate regional press, local advertising newspapers, and there may be local radio or local television stations, or even perhaps portals on the internet that may give space or allow space very cheaply to small companies to promote their services and products. They initiate a need for advertising and promotion. The need to advertise products and services. So the advertisers themselves need to promote themselves to the companies. The companies must be aware of the advertisers and what the advertisers can do for them. They are, in a sense, selling a service to the companies. So the advertisers must not only advertise the products and services of their clients, but they must also advertise their own services to the clients. Advertisers use a range of distribution channels and type of advertising to reach their target audience. So the advertisers, as I said, may use newspapers, magazines, radio, television, internet, and so on. And what they have to do is to try and work out what is the best source, what's the best channel to hit the maximum number of customers. So they need to have information regarding customers' practices and customers' ways of living, lifestyles. Do the customers use the internet extensively, or do they use television, and which channels do they watch, and what type of programs do they watch? When is peak viewing times? How does it vary across the seasons? Is it different in the summer to the winter? So it's important that the advertisers collect a lot of information, and this is expensive, and generally speaking they will outsource that to other specialist organizations who attempt to pick up this information and then sell it on to the advertisers. There are also manufacturers and service organizations. They are large multinational manufacturing and service organizations. They invest heavily on advertising. There can be a distinction between, of course, manufacturers and service organizations. Sometimes we think of advertising in terms of products, but advertising services is also increasingly important. We see more and more advertisements now for legal services on television. We may see advertisements for education institutions. These are offering services. It's broadly in line with the changes, the structural changes in the economy. In many Western societies we've seen a movement from manufacturing to services. So it's almost inevitable that the service providers will want to make their wares or their efforts make them available to a wider audience, and make sure that the customers, that wider audience, know about them through advertising. It doesn't have to be multinational. It could be smaller organizations, but sometimes companies who produce volume products and perhaps retail the products in many markets throughout the world, globalized companies, they're able to purchase much more advertising slots, and we are subject to more repetitive advertising from those companies. The idea being, I suppose, if we see essentially the same advertisements over and over, they will stick with us. Sellers. Well, retail industry, they buy from manufacturers and sell to customers. They need to advertise to sell their products. So it's not just the large companies who will try to sell the brand, but the retailers will also try to market the products because it's in their interest to shift the products. Of course, the retailers might market themselves and thereby try to get the customers in to sell the products from the large manufacturers. But again, it's another layer of advertising we have to be familiar with. And as I said earlier, the government, they use advertising to deliver a message. For example, healthy eating campaigns, health issues awareness, promoting the army and recruitment, introducing the population to the requirements of a new law, for example, perhaps a motoring law, and explaining to drivers what's required. So the government can buy space as well. An advertising agency offers services in planning, preparing and placing advertisements. So the advertising agency plans out the campaign and it works out where to place the advertisements. On billboards, on television, in magazines, on the national press, local press. So the advertising agency tries to work out what sort of advertising and where to make it available. Contracting to an advertising agency has become a common approach to advertising. Generally speaking, companies don't attempt to do it themselves. It's specialized, and if they got it wrong, it would look bad for them. It looks like they're a bunch of amateurs, and therefore their product may suffer, the brand may suffer, the image of the organization may suffer, and rather than run that risk, they contract out, they outsource this to an agency. They may be involved with the agency right throughout, looking at various drafts, proposals, and being involved right throughout, but it's the agency who's doing the work to try and come up with the idea that's going to help to sell the product. Agencies offer specialist services and innovating solutions to advertising. It's the agency's job to be aware of the way in which the advertising industry functions and the types of services it can offer. The technology is changing, so it may wish to offer very innovative services in terms of the internet presence. It may wish to offer quite elaborate advertising ideas, which would be very technologically challenging for most companies. But the advertising agency will have contacts to help them to develop this. So they're able to offer very specialist services. So the advertising agencies, well, the types of activities include account planners and supervisors. They must have someone who takes on the account and takes responsibility for the account and ensures that the client's brief has been taken and clearly understood so that they can start to work on it. These are the account planners and supervisors. They know what the client wants and what the brief is. There will be art directors, graphic designers and artists who will look at the products and look at the market and will come up with creative ideas about how to project this product. There will be a creative team, in fact, not just the graphic designers and the art people, but a whole creative team which will come up with scenarios perhaps about how to sell the product and the imagery of the product and the impact it'll have, and so on. So there'll be a creative team in place. Also a copywriter to make sure that they're not infringing copyright from other agencies or other sources, and also that they themselves will be able to copyright any new ideas they've got. So there will be copywriters involved. There'll also be research and marketing specialists who will know what the customers are looking for and will have done surveys in the market to see if customers' tastes have changed, or customers' expectations of the product, what they want, and so on. So that there will be feedback, research feedback from contact with customers, final customers of the product. There will be media buyers who will know the various media that the agency may approach. As I said, television, radio, internet, local press, national press, so on, magazines and so on. So there will be various media buyers who will know the prices and the costs and will know about that particular specialist aspect of buying from those different sources of outlet. There will be technical staff, printing, editing and production. The staff who will make the product at the end. These may be video editors, they may be presenters, there may be voiceover personnel, there may be artists, there may be computer artists, there may a whole range of specialist personnel may be brought in to work on this particular task. And as I said, there'll be commercial, radio and media producers, people with expertise in those different areas, and who will know what the requirements for a successful campaign using those particular media outlets will be. The type of approach that has been successful, perhaps even with other agencies or with other products. They will know what will work, the chances are, and they will make recommendations. There may be web developers. Maybe the product needs, or the advertisement needs, its own website to promote it and to promote the advertisement. There'll also be sales, promotion, direct marketing specialist and public relations. These personnel will also be required to ensure that the efforts get publicity, and that the different parts of the market are made aware of the efforts that they're making with this particular product. So information will be disseminated into the market. And there will be a type of strategic planning put in place as to what is required from the advertisement. What are the outcomes? What is the time limits on this? What will be the follow-up? What was the issues associated with previous advertising campaigns? What's the current image of the company? Where does the company want to be in 5 years' time? What sort of image does it wish to project? So there's a development of a strategic component to all of this that the company, of course, can take back and integrate into its own strategic plans for its business. Or indeed, it may not take it back, it may take the ideas from its existing strategic plan and give those to the agencies and tell the agencies that's the type of company they want to be in 3, 5, 10 years' time. That's about all we need to do on this particular part. It's important to see all the 5 parts on this one. They all advance our understanding bit by bit of this important area. Advertising and promotion is essential. Effective advertising and promotion is essential for companies to succeed. We live in an increasingly competitive world, and it's important to understand the structure of this particular industry, because this is the one that companies use to make contact with their customers and to promote their products. They will also have in-house marketing, which may be dealing with direct customer issues, after sales service, but also looking at perhaps contact with customers and picking up ideas for product development and so on. So there are different layers, and we can see that running a business is becoming increasingly complex, particularly in view of the changing technology, the increasing sophistication of customers, the amount of information that's available or can be had by customers, and the specialisms that are required in order to make a successful advertising campaign. That's all we're going to deal with here, so let's leave this particular part and say thank you for watching.